Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the first pre-lockout chat of the season. Round one has already started, but the weekend is upon us, and we have another 8 games of football to be watching over the weekend, which is very, very good. But for some, maybe they've already turned off with a few players not quite performing last night. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And the only fantasy fanatic on this episode because the other lads are all busy today. So I've got a couple of special guests on. One you can see on the screen now and the other that will join us very shortly. But it is 2023 Overall Champion, coach of Wise Ocean Pods and doing all good stuff on the Wise Ocean Pods YouTube channel. It is Darren Carr. Darren, mate, how are you? You excited for footy to finally be back?
Yeah, mate, I'm super keen just to get some real footy underway. Obviously, we've had a bit of pre-season content to go through over the last month or so with pracky games, match simulations and whatnot. So even round 0 was pretty interesting with all the Cyclone stuff that went and happened. But that's old news now. We're into round 1 and we've got some scores on the board already after last night. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll quickly touch on that. Obviously, we'll do a bigger recap on Sunday night for our pod. But last night, who'd you have and who were you impressed with?
So I had 6 players overall last night. So that included
All
Jaiden Short.
on field? Or
No.
Okay.
A couple on the
How many on field?
There, so 4 on field.
4 on field, yeah.
So I had Jaiden Short, trainer on the bench. Then I had Ollie Hollins. And then my little pod I had in the midfield as well as sub 500k was McIntosh there. And then I had Camporelli on the bench, unfortunately, with his nice 76. And then obviously Tom De Koning in the ruck in the R2 spot.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, we'll so Short. It is what it is. Richmond won. Don't think we expect Richmond to win too many games, but it's funny when some people said, they might not win any games of the season, yet the first game they win. And I think that had a lot to do with Carlton's defence, which we will chat about in a sec as well. But there's no worries there with you, is there? I think I've heard as well that apparently Cottrell was part of the reason that Short went to him in the second half. Are you just fine with Short there and you're not panicking with him?
Yeah, I think that's the methodology behind it right now. Obviously, he was really good in the first half. I think he finished with 59 points in the first half, but then Richmond started to get on top, and that's when his scoring really started to diminish. And obviously, he said he got a bit of attention in the second half. So I have no concerns at this point in time. I think he's one I'll just continue to hold. We obviously know he's quite undervalued for what we expect him to be and what he has been previously. So, yeah, no concerns there for me for Jaiden Short. Just lock him, load him. We're not expecting Richmond to be competitive every single week. I think that was probably more of a one-off scenario where they just were fit and firing. And honestly, Carlton just really didn't have much of a game plan besides bomb it down the line. And that just didn't really allow for these fantasy points to rack up. We saw the other person we'll probably talk about, Ollie Hollins, who really had struggled in the first half particularly. And he should have probably had an 80, 85, if not a 90, if his teammates didn't burn him as much. And obviously if the game was able to free flow a lot more. So, yeah, it was a bit of a weird game, but I probably wouldn't be taking too many of the scores out of it. I think I liked a lot of the roles that we saw. So I'm not too concerned and not jumping off at this point in time.
Yeah. Don't get me started on the Carlton defence. Don't get me started.
I did watch your watch along a little bit, and I was seeing you get a bit fired up with how many times I was just burning him. It was very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, we'll chat about that one in a sec. But yeah, that was very frustrating. But yeah, Shaw had a 6-point third quarter. So if that's a 20-point quarter, all of a sudden you're looking at 100. So yeah, I'm fine with him. He'll have better games. And as we said, Richmond won't win too many more games. So I'd imagine the ball will be down there a bit more. Trainer as well. Good. Obviously, some people had him on field at D6, and kudos to you for taking the punt. I don't know if I couldn't do it because I couldn't have a rookie locked in the first game on field I wasn't comfortable with. But if you got the score, very, very happy with the 62. Midfield, Adam Chera really slowed down after really the first half. First half, 56, end up with a 97, which at the end of the day, you get about near 20 points of upside. You take that. Even though you're probably hoping for at least over 100, considering he was going well. But got moved to a back pocket when Doherty came on, which was interesting. I don't know about you, Darren, but I don't know if I'd be trading necessarily into an Adam Chera now with Doherty coming on as sub. Walsh didn't get many CBAs. It's like there's a few guys in that midfield. So, yeah, I'm not too sure. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, like I said, they obviously lost, so that they may potentially start to throw some magnets around. So that could be another concern. But overall, he looks great. I can't blame the Carlton for the loss on him, right? He tried his heart out all day. Yes, he was a bit lackluster in the second half, but that was again probably Richmond getting on top in that second half, which then he just didn't have as much of an impact. So in terms of, I probably wouldn't trade him in because it probably should have been a 1-10 game from him quite comfortably, and that's what we were sort of expecting. But then obviously he dropped a 97, which is still 20 points above his price. So I wouldn't be trading him in, but I wouldn't be trading off him either, especially with Hawks next week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very, very tough matchup. And joining us is our other special guest, which obviously thank you very much to Darren and this man for filling in as a Fantasy Fanatics today. But it is the number 2 overall coach from 2024. And he's been on a fair few times. He's almost emergency at the Fantasy Fanatics. This is Tom Hales, coach. Tom, mate, how are you?
I've just walked in from work, so I'm a little bit flustered, but I'm here to chat some fantasy and to help the viewers out, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're just finishing wrapping up the game from last night, mate. How many did you have on field? How many on the bench?
I had 4 on field. So I had Chera, which I'm fine with. 87's fine. Shorty, little bit underwhelming, but still nothing to get particularly upset about. TDK, legend. Thank God I didn't go set and forget. And I also, 10 minutes before bounce down, chucked Campo on the field at M8, which worked out quite nicely for me. And had Trainer on the bench as well, which was nice for his 60-odd. Could be D6 going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. No, very, very good point. Yeah, there was plenty of good rookies. Obviously, Campo, as you mentioned, 76 was very, very good if you had him on field. Again, kudos to you for having him M8. You also had a Sam Lawler on the bench, scored a 68 for a lot of people. If you had him on field, again, 68's a pretty solid score and could be someone that people trade into if they didn't start with him. Then you had, obviously, we mentioned a Trainer there as well. But the two I want to quickly chat about. Ollie Hollands, Moonboy had the question, Darren, he was asking you, he said, what do we do with Ollie Hollands? So if anyone that didn't watch along last night, I was pretty fired up with this. The whole Carlton defence should be dropped, except for Ollie Hollands. Every Carlton defender got the ball and just banged it on the boot, particularly Lockie Cowan. He should have to be the guy that should be dropped for that. The amount of times he missed getting Hollands for a little shot +6. McGovern missed him twice for kicks. Like this Hollands score for me, Darren, could have easily been 100, but instead it's a 72 and still 10 points of value, right, from his price set figure 6-2. But I think a few people wanted more. What are your thoughts on him? Is he one of those guys that if you get other issues, you'll hold? If you don't, you may trade? Or are you still a little bit optimistic with his role and how he looked last night?
I'm still very optimistic. Like you said, it probably should have been closer to that 90, if not close to 100. I think I saw some stats come out after the game where I think there was multiple occasions where he got burnt or there was kicks that went over his head that just were meant to go to him, but they missed him. So he probably missed out on a good 15 points on that factor alone. So I think the role was definitely a tick, and that's probably what we're more so looking at. Like, yes, he's still at 72. It's still over his price tag, so his price tag will still move. I just expect him to increase his scoring output a lot next week. I think they'll come out a lot better and have more intent on moving the ball in a much more efficient way rather than just bombing it down the line with what we saw last night. With Lockie Cowan, I do expect him to probably be dropped, and we probably won't see him for a long, long time. His effort last night was just atrocious. Even that last goal with Campbell running past him and kicking that winning goal was just atrocious. And yeah, he's just gone. So, but I'm just holding on to Hollands. I think obviously we've only had one game, so there's still plenty to go, water to go under the bridge. So there's going to have other issues that pop up. So he's not on my radar at this point in time to move on. So I'll be holding on to him there.
Yeah, I hope Lockie Cowan gets dropped after that. That was, I couldn't stand it. Bloody Hollands missed out on some points. Final part, we'll quickly chat about before we answer a heap of your questions. So if you guys are tuning in live, make sure you get all your questions in. I know there's a heap of questions there already. We'll try and get through as many as we possibly can there. And I guess if you want it guaranteed to be answered, there is a super chat button there if you'd like to use it, but that is not necessary. Obviously, we'll try and get all the questions answered regardless. But Tom, TDK, 132, massive. I'm glad I'm almost blessing in disguise that Marshall went down for me. Otherwise, I probably would have gone Marshall Cherry and wouldn't have had that massive score from TDK. But obviously, we know how good he was last night. But the question, I think, for people is, VC, a few people had it on Tom de Koning. Is 132 enough to go a red dot? Or are you still going, if you've got a Cherry, if you've got a Gorn, if you've got someone like that, are you still like fine to take that on and get another player captain, or do you think that 132 is enough to get a red dot either as a Bo Allen in defence or as a ruck if you're not going to start Harry Boyd? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's enough, personally. I think realistically, if you're starting someone like Cherry or Gawn, you're expecting a 120 plus score in their matchup this week. If you weren't, then why are you starting them? Because you want them at very, very least to maintain their average going forward. So you're basically only going to be giving up, at worst case, from what you're predicting from your starting team, 10 points, 5 points. And if we work on the rough rule of thumb, 100k is about 10 points-ish. Every week you have that red dot. When we have two kind of viable, which makes one viable, our three options. I think you've just got to go with 30 green dots. And you're not going to be behind the comp sticking the C on Cherry or Gawn.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that 132 is just not quite enough. If it was a 150, that would be different. I think you might consider doing that. But yeah, I think with Cherry and Gawn, great matchups this week. I think it's just if Boyd wasn't named, I'd be very comfortable with doing it. I wouldn't be starting Archer Reed. I'd just start a red dot. But the fact that Harry Boyd has been named, that's if you aren't confident that he's not going to be in the team for much more than a week or two, then you could. But I just still think that there's a chance that something happened to Marshall when he's out for a week or two and Harry Boyd's a solo ruck, he's going to make cash. So I'll probably still comfortable with him sitting there as well. So we will get into all the questions now. If you guys do still have any questions from last night, feel free to put them in the chat as well if we missed anything. But we will go through a heap of these questions now. So MJ's got the first question here saying, which Saints rookie should we go for with the best job security, Darren? What are your thoughts with a few of these? Obviously, you've got Hasty, you've got Max Hall, you've got Liam O'Connell, you've got Harry Boyd's obviously 230k ruck, but there's probably a few others. Which of the Saints guys are you more looking at?
It's a tough question, perhaps, to throw to me, but because the team changed overnight as well, because I was pretty confident on Mitch Owens is obviously out, but even just at the team arrangement, like Hasty was in the back line last night, but now he's named on the bench. So my thoughts have sort of changed there, that I thought he was a pretty safe bet. But now things have changed up. Obviously, they've got Connor in the back line, and now they've got Max Hall in the forward line. So it is a very tough decision. I think you got to go based off performance, and I don't know how much I trust like O'Connell and Hall's scoring ability. I think we've seen a lot more capacity from a Hasty, in my opinion. So that's sort of where I'm focusing on at this point in time. Obviously, I think Harry Boyd is going to be in the team regardless. So I don't think he'll start as a sub. That would be a pretty strange thing to start as a ruckman as a sub. But I'm just going Hasty. I think this is a simple answer for me. I think actually my thinking is that Zach Jones is going to be the sub. He starts as a sub, and that probably means it could be a sub in for Hugo Garcia, who we have seen has spent a lot of time cutting this. I know, it scared me when I first looked at it, but he has a lot of long time on ground, so he could potentially be subbed throughout the game if they're not winning. So I've already seen a question in the chat that obviously we have to probably address that at some point. But yeah, it could mean some concerns there for Hugo Garcia.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Hasty's the guy for me. He was named on field. I know he's on the bench now, but the fact that he was named on field in the original team, they've been really impressed with him playing off halfback. I don't think he'll be the sub. I think there's other guys that are probably just ahead of him there. But again, because we got all these 230k rooks, right? The one that's not the sub, you just jump on them. So if something happened, you can just do it, which is a good thing there. Say's got this question. Tom, what is the maximum number of sub 400k players we should have on fields? How many do you have on field sub 400k? And is that the structure that you think is the best play, or what would you think?
Well, but I think it's the best place. It's the one I'm going for. I have two. Actually 3 this week, because I think I've decided, and you can knock me down if I think I'm wrong. I think I'm going Zachary tonight over Sam Taylor. I'm scared. I'll push that into the future. I just have Campriali, who I had last night, and I've got Sam Wicks at F6, who might be Sam Davidson one of those two will be on field for me this week. I like the low rookies on ground. It was the strategy I employed last year, and it worked really well. And I think it gives you flexibility to want to add more on ground. If you want to come down from mid prices rather than start with a load of rookies and being stuck. I put out a tweet yesterday saying do we have a rookie crisis? I don't think we do, but I think we've got a lot of low job security rookies and a lot of either low job security or low scoring potential rookies. So I wouldn't be comfortable starting too many more than 2 or 3 on field. Just as the worry of what if a couple go down, where are we going? Who you trading in? Are you going to be stuck with red dots on your bench, maybe even bleeding into your field if you start with too many?
Yeah, you said as well, you said it throughout last year, you said at the end of the year as well, and you even said in the preseason that you obviously started this, but it's a lot easier to go down from a couple of these more expensive players and then go up, then have to try and upgrade a 230k rook if they fail to try and get one of those players that pop. So, very, very good call there. Bailey Miller says, Grzyuski is starting, has a -5 break-in, definition of a 1 to 2 week play. Darren, what are your thoughts with him? Obviously, I don't know if Hogan is back. I don't think Hogan's named back this week, but Hogan will be back soon. Well, after their bye, I think also Jake Riccardi's suspension will be done. So that's 2 big key forwards. I know about you, but this is just the definition of he'll play 1 week and he'll get dropped. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. You've already stated it, that they've got 2 key forwards coming back instantly after the bye, so you'll probably get 1 week out of him. Yes, he may make 70, 80, 90k depending on what he scores, but yeah, it's only a 1 week play, and then you're gonna have a red dot. So I'm just not even considering it at this point in time. I think it's depth at best. He's still got a lot of development to go through in his career, so I just think they're in the prime of their life. They've started well this season. They want to push into finals, into premierships, so they're gonna play the best team available, and I don't think that includes him when they've got a lot of other people fit. So I'm just not looking at it, and I don't trust it.
Yep, agreed. Will Turner's got this one, Tom. Sheasel and Kako with Davidson on field F6, or Rankin and Fraser with Davidson pushed to the bench?
I'm Rankin and Fraser there.
Agreed.
If we're not, we've not seen. I understand people hearing the reports we have of Fraser maybe training in the midfield and all. I love Fraser as a pick. He was in a lock for me in defence for quite a few weeks now. I think he's a great pick. I think Ranking's obviously unders, especially if he gets a 50% minimum midfield split, which that's all the evidence we have this year is that's what's going to happen. So I prefer those two as potential upside players gaining cash, and I also think they probably score more than.
Yeah.
I've said it. I think I said it on the pod on Tuesday, and I've said it for a while. Let's not get too expectant of Davidson to be starting scoring hundreds every week. That was a super uncontested outside game in a preseason game where he was on the hot wing all game. We've seen Jeremy Sharp be a great winger for us last year, but then he dropped a 10 against, I think it was the Bulldogs he dropped. Get on a cold wing, you don't score. So let's not have our expectations too high for Davidson. It could be a 60, 65, even 70 maybe if everything goes his way. But this is Bevo. They do have a few out. So let's not get too locked into that. I love the Rankin and Fraser play.
Yep, agreed. Say says, who to cut out of Oliver and Day, says Darren. I'm going to ask Darren for that one. So what are your thoughts? I think you've almost got to have both, but it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on Will Day being the Hawks man with that 129 baked in value. I still think that I haven't been keen on Day at all, but I think you've got to start him just with the cash gen, because worst case is that he drops to 70. You want to trade him. He's made 70k and you can go to the midfield that's popped. If it's a Tom Powell, if it's a Will Ashcroft, if it's an Adam Chera, if you want to go that way, if it's a James Peatling, whoever, I feel, or even a Petrarch if you got a little bit of cash. So I feel like Day is a good play. So firstly, thoughts on Day, and if you had to cut one of him or Oliver, who is it?
It's a super tough question for me because, like I said, he does have that inbuilt value. He's going to go up probably 70, 80k. He scores a 73, he goes up 77k. So you expect him to hit that. it's just the run. He's got such a tough run to start the season. We've obviously spoken about the tags he could potentially have, particularly tonight. There's talks that a Redmond may run with him. He was training in the midfield today, so that will be interesting to see. Or it could be a Durham as well. We obviously know we've seen him do some tagging jobs previously. I don't think it'll be a super hard tag at the end of the day. Neither of them are elite taggers, so I still expect him to hit a 70-80 at minimum. It's the ones that are coming up. Carlton, I'm not too familiar with who their tagger may be next week.
Normally Hewitt runs with, but I don't know.
Yeah,
sure.
It's not more of a tag, but Chen Cotter has previously done tags, but I don't think he's fit at the moment. Yeah. The Bedford one is the scary one before the bye. So his cash could be dried up quite quickly if he cops two pretty big tags in the next 2-3 weeks. So it could be a very short play, but I think with his cash generation inbuilt, he's going to be an elite star of a competition. So I think he's at least going to go up, 100, 150K and push that 900K price tag quite quickly. So I think you have to start him. I have toyed around not starting him just because of the concerns. But the other interesting thing is for me is I've tried the question so much about Clayton Oliver because at the end of the day, to me, his role hasn't changed. He's obviously got some mental issues at the moment with, all the stuff that happened last year with he's not happy and whatnot. So his role hasn't changed for me. So is he going to be able to push his price back up to 90? I think we're all just picking him because we've seen what he's done before and we expect he's going to be a bit happier. So if you truly don't believe that he's going to pump that back up and be that guy again, then why not fade an Oliver? What's the worst it can do? There's plenty of other options that we can go with there. But I'm too scared to do that. 55% of the comp are doing it already. And at a sub 800K price tag, I think you have to go with it. He's got a good run as well, so I don't think he'll have too much attention. I don't even think he's going to be a tag target at this point in time. I don't think he's that damaging, especially when Petrarca's back now as well. So it's hard to split, but if I had to cut one, I'd probably cut Will Day, probably being the certainty that he is the best player in the club for the Hawks, and he's going to get more attention than what a Clayton Oliver will be.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, no, I think I agree as well. Matthew Murphy, Tom says, TDK with the VC, Camporelli with the emergency. Do you move Murphy Reid to Bo Allen to take both scores or just not bother? So it's a little bit obviously what we talked about before, but you're still not bothering with that?
No, I'm not bothering. You're putting maybe a Finn O'Sullivan on field who, if he's playing behind the ball like it's been reported, he could outscore Camporelli, especially defenders against the Dogs. And also, and you're going to be putting the C on someone who could outscore TDK. If this was a normal VC, obviously you're taking the VC all day. I just think we've been given an opportunity to have 30 green dots, which we've not had for a few seasons without the cherry play last year. I think we take that. We take the cash gen. I don't think my spicy take. I don't think cash gen is going to be as easy as it was last year. So if we're giving Walkup cash gen, I think we've got to take it, and that's why I'm starting Sam Taylor and Will Day, just for that Walkup cash gen. Yeah.
So Harry Bedell's got this one, Tom, and I'll go to you because you just mentioned it as well, and I'll get Darren's thoughts as well, because this is, who would have thought in December when the game opened that the most talked about player leading into round one is Sam bloody Taylor? No one would have predicted that reading in. So Harry said, who to start out of Sam Taylor and Sam de Koning? So, but first, before we chat about, we'll talk about Sam Taylor, right? So, and I want to get your boys' thoughts on this as well. So I've currently got Sam Taylor sitting on my bench. I've gone Langford down to Hasty and gone Pryor up to Taylor to get the cash gen from Sam Taylor on the bench. I don't know how confident I'll be fielding Sam Taylor this week, particularly with Melbourne having a bit of rain around, and it sounds like it'll be raining in that game on Sunday. So that could be a 30. But you get a week to look at Pryor. You can downgrade Taylor at least next week. And as Mitch has said as well, I said this on our pod on Tuesday, you don't have to trade Sam Taylor out next week. He's got the bye. He can then be a guy you can use to loot 2 rookies next week. And then if he's round 3 and 4, best 18 anyway, and you've probably got a rookie normally in that position. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on Sam Taylor as a pick? Thoughts on him playing on the bench and starting a Reid instead? And then your thoughts on Taylor or de Koning?
I have ummed and ahed with the Sam Taylor all week. I've landed when I finalised my team on Wednesday night, when I finally put it down, with I'm going with Sam Taylor. because I think the worst that can happen is he scores a 25, makes 80k, and you get off him in the next 2 weeks. The unluckiness that you're going to have 4 forced trades before he next plays again is super, super unlucky. The best case he scores 60 plus, you might want to keep him because he's still going to have that 118 in his price cycle for another couple of more games. So I think I'm doing it. I'm also going to start Zachary tonight. Purely because I think he's got some intercepting ability against quite a small Hawthorn forward line. Essendon do love a chip back there. I think his floor could be by quite good. I mean, 50. Whereas I think Sam Taylor in the wet on Sunday, I think his floor could be super, super low. So I'm treating Sam Taylor as a rookie who, if this was round 6 or round 7, and you had a 528k rookie with the same break even job security, you'd be super happy, and you'd also be happy benching them. So that's how I'm treating him. I think you start Taylor over. I think you start Taylor over De Koning.
There's your parachute. De Koning goes well.
There's your parachute. We've got Ari Schoenmaker named. He's a parachute option.
He could be the sub as well because he hasn't played any preseason games. So obviously, Darren, you know about Zach Jones, but that's another chance as well. So something to watch.
Yeah. You've got even someone like a Jake Bowie at 640k.
Shout out DC.
Shout out DC. You've got Pryor. You've got Luke Cleary, who's named. You've got Riley Bice, who's named. So you get to a free look at all these downgrade, all these movement options. I can't tell you which is the best one because I don't think any of them are that great. But more information means more informed decisions next week.
Yeah. And then the other thing as well is if you've got Zach Reid and Jackson Pryor, that's 2 Essendon rookies that don't have a double cash rise this week and have got the buy in round 4. So that's a little bit cash and you're losing out. If you start Sam Taylor, if you go Sam Taylor to Jackson Pryor even next week and he goes well, you've probably made that cash gen up from that week that he's missing anyway. So that's why I like it. But yeah, Darren, what are your thoughts on Sam Taylor as a play, particularly as a bench player, as me and Tom have said, if we're starting a Zach Reid or if someone has got money and they're starting a Jackson Pryor instead?
Well, it seems like good fantasy minds think alike because I'm doing the exact same thing as you guys. I've got Sam Taylor on my bench at this point in time and I'm fielding Zach Reid. I think he covered it pretty well. At the minimum, he's going to probably gain 70k cash and he's going to be priced about that 600. And we have a plethora of parachute options that we can go to next week if he was to drop his cash generation.
We didn't even say the guys above as well, like Bergman, guys like that. So,
yeah,
sorry,
exactly. No, sorry. He's going to be priced at 600k, so there's plenty of options that we can go to, like an SDK, a Fraser, if you can spend that little bit extra coin, because they're not going to move that much in price tags unless they have a massive game and they probably move maybe 40, 50k at most. So the cash generation you're going to have from him, you're going to be able to cover that off very, very quickly. So I think it's an absolute play. It's something that I'm doing, and it's hasn't been something that I hugely liked at the start, but with all options back there at this point in time, it's something I want to just watch and see and jump on after that. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
that's what I want to reiterate is like we're doing it because we don't have the options back there. We want more information about who's going to be the good picks. So if we had 6 walk-up picks, if it was the midfield or the forward line, I don't think any of us would be doing it. That's why I'm not really that's why I'm not starting a Callahan, for example. So that it's just purely because we don't really like our defensive options.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. A few people asked about Levi Ashcroft. If he's the sub, can you start him? I just don't think you can. He's too expensive. He's going to drop value. So you definitely don't start him if he's not the sub. If he's not the sub, you probably try and bring him back in. So have a bit of a plan if he's not the sub. But it sounds like Brisbane have said he's going to be the sub. And if it'd have to be something big for that to change.
Sam is out today. I will say that Sam Day is out from the named side. Unfortunately, thoughts with him and his family's father passed away. So there will be a change. It is a tall forward, but they might go with a slightly smaller mix and Levi might play. So that's just one thing to watch.
What I've heard is that they'll give Darcy Fort the reins as the full forward, and then obviously Levi will be the sub. So that's probably the my counter argument to that. I don't know if that
Yes,
makes too much influence.
Yeah, definitely
Sorry,
something.
I didn't say that. I saw half that news. Sorry, guys.
Josh has got this question here, Darren. So he said, best combo, Dawson and Fraser, or Libba/Petrarca and Jason Horne-Francis. And what I'll say is I'll start off by saying I just don't think Libba is the guy we can go for, particularly with Treloar being back by round 3, round 4, Bont probably round 5, maybe round 6. That's not a long play. So if we are doing track versus and JHF versus Dawson and Fraser, Darren, who are you going for?
I am probably leaning towards Petrarca and JHF, and my reasoning behind that is because those two are probably holders for the entire year, so keepers. Whereas a Fraser, I don't see being a potential keeper for the year. He probably averages 80 at most, I would have thought, and he's more of a natural progression sort of selection in my terms. He's left my team for those sort of reasons. The only argument I would say if you wanted to start a Dawson is if you don't have any other captain options. If you're struggling with captain options, absolutely start Dawson, because he's going to be one you can just slap the C on for the best part of the first 6 or 7 weeks, I would have thought. But definitely I think Traka and JHF provide a lot of value, and will be a keeper, and you'll be able to save your trades for other fix-ups around the team. Is that what you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
One interesting thing is obviously Fraser, you've got some weird positional bits and bobs going on there. Is there a different option with what about if you replace Fraser with someone like a Sartis? Would that be better? Obviously you can't do Holly Hollands now since he's played, but
it's probably some sort of rookie shuffle, I'd imagine, some sort of like that. But I'd agree. I think Petrarca and Horne-Francis is a pick. As much as I love Dawson, that's the pick.
I do agree with that, though.
Yeah,
I think.
Larrett177 says, last decision to make for my team, Dawson or Brayshaw at M1 without your Crows tinted glasses on. Okay, take the glasses off, put them down. Dawson.
This is my decision too, so please give the answer.
So the way I look at it, is Brayshaw's got a more solid role. So if you want someone that you think is just going to go 110, he's got 5 points of upside, fine. And he's if you want to be safe for M1, I feel like Brayshaw's the pick. I think, though, that Dawson could be the number 1 scoring midfielder, if not the number 1 scorer in the game. He looked great. He doesn't need... People think he needs 75, 80% CBAs to score 115. He's averaged 113 points over the last 2 seasons when he's had at least 50% CBAs. It's the games where he has 40% CBAs or whatever, when he's dropped these 60s and these 50s and whatever, which there's only been 3 scores of that in the past 2 seasons when he's played midfield. And 3 of those, 2 of them he was injured for as well. So just something to, actually no, 1 of them, sorry, he was injured for. So just that's the thing. So I'm going Dawson because I want the upside. But if you want someone safer, it's Brayshaw. I'm interested to see what you guys think out of these 2. So Darren, obviously Tom was saying he's deciding. Who do you think?
I've currently got Dawson in my side, and that's sort of my methodology behind it is that I trust Dawson to be able to back up his 110 average from last year. From the year prior, much more than what I think a Brayshaw can. I think Brayshaw is in a side that has had a bit of a game change. I think I've gone on about so many times that they're looking to handball a lot more and run with the ball rather than be this kick mark sort of game style that we have seen from in the past, which is a bit more fantasy inducive to scoring. So that's why I've gone with Dawson. Like you said, he doesn't need a huge amount of CBAs to be able to score. He can score well all over the ground, whether it's half, back, forward, on the wing, etc. He just demands the ball like no other that we have seen. So he's just such a natural fantasy scorer. He's a great overhead mark. He's a ferocious tackler, whereas Brayshaw doesn't really have the marking attribute to him, in my opinion. Especially with Sarong being that sort of number 1 midfielder. He sort of demands the ball a little bit more. So I just like Dawson a little bit more. I think it's hard to sort of split the 2, but that's just my thinking behind it.
Yeah, because both have got good. Both have got good runs as well to start the year, so that's the other thing.
I currently have Brayshaw. It might change, but I currently have Brayshaw for the reasons they've both got great runs. I just want someone who I feel a little bit more comfortable putting the C on. Especially in the early season. I just think that Brayshaw was injured at the start of last year. inbuilt average for the end of last year. He absolutely, I don't know if it's a little bit of making up for the fact he cost me a car in the last game of last year.
I like how I think you've got, well, if you've got Brochure, you've probably got Rosie in there as well. So you've
Yeah,
got
I do.
two of the guys that were involved with that.
Let's just get Sarong in too, and then we can get have the party again in my midfield. But yeah, I might go to Dawson. It depends on. I feel like Dawson's slightly more risky, but with higher reward. And I know for definite that Brayshaw's not going to get the tag, and he's going to have basically a free run of that midfield, especially with no Young, no Fife, no Bolton.
Yeah, and people know I could go on about Dawson's stats. I've done probably the biggest deep dive that anyone's ever done to a single player for fantasy ever. But every single game that he had below 90 last year, there was a reason behind it, and not just one that you could go, "Oh, it was a bad game." There was a reason behind it. So if you want my thoughts on that, I'm sure there's plenty of other pods and even the Dawson there's a Dawson versus Brayshaw head-to-head video I did with Mitch from the Ball Boys. So if you want to check that out, so that's still very relevant. So make sure you guys check that out. What do we got here? MPD, Darren says Murphy, Reid, Levi Ashcroft or Langford M10. So I think we'll cross off Ashcroft unless he's named in the squad. So are you going Murphy, Reid or Harvey Langford?
It's a tough one because Langford could be a very good scorer. We've seen his junior numbers. He is an elite fantasy scorer. But I just don't know what his role is going to be. You know, that Melbourne are surprisingly run a fairly deep midfield this year with, you know, your Oliver, Petrarca, Viney probably being the main three. And then you've got the likes of Rivers that are expected to run through there. And they've thrown in Ed Langdon, especially through the practice game and the community series as well. So they've probably already got
Lindsay
5
on the wing, taking that wing role.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like he could be a bit of a sub risk, but they have named like 4 or 5 other debutants this week. So it's probably unlikely he gets a sub this week. I just don't know if I trust a half forward role for him to be quite scoring juicy. That could probably be 50. Whereas I think a Murphy, especially with the likes of Young and Fife, you named them before, are out particularly for the first 3 or 4 weeks, however long it's going to be, he may get some CBA time. And that could probably lead to him pushing up to 60s, 70s for the first couple of weeks. So that's probably where I'm leading. And he's a little bit cheaper as well. So it does free up a little bit of coin if you're struggling there. So that's probably where I'm leaning.
Yeah, Murphy.
I was going to say, my one worry about Murphy Reid is he's playing Bolton's role. Bolton should be back next week. Hayden Young possibly 2 to 3 away, had a little setback. I just worry about his job security. I think this week he's going to get some inside time. I think he probably will score better this week. I'm just a little bit worried because these players want to be in our sides for 6, 7, 8 weeks to get them fully ripened to 250, 300k from our mid-rookies. I'm a little bit scared, but I don't know if I'm just projecting too much and not just playing the hand that's in front of me of who's going to score better this week.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. So you cut me off and you took my words out of my
Sorry.
mouth, Tom. So
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Andrew Griff says, I'm a Tigers fan, love Layla, but don't think he's a fantasy player. So partly agree with that, right? You only had 2 CBAs and Richmond won last night. But I think that the counterpoint to that would be, I think that Layla, coming from a few weeks off, obviously with the concussion and broken jaw, I think he'll only increase in CBA time. I'm not saying he's not going to be a 70% mid. I think he's probably going to be closer to a 50-50 split. I think he'll slowly increase for like 20, 25%, maybe 30% over the next maybe 2-3 weeks. So I think he was someone we'll talk about on Sunday as well. I think he's a downgrade option depending on what other players we get. So you were doing, so I'm assuming that was to do with subs and that again. If you guys haven't followed the AFL subs and late change account, obviously our co-host and fellow AFL Fantasy Fanatics, Jordox and Eloise run that account. And every time the subs and late changes drop, they put it out straight away. If you turn on notifications from that account, you get it straight to your thing. You don't have to open up any app, anything like that. So go follow them. And I've just got the notification. Sam Frost and Jade Gresham are the subs tonight. And also they reached over 1,000K followers, the account. So congrats to Jordox and Eloise for that. But Sam Frost being sub, that's if you were looking at starting a James Sicily, that probably crosses that off for you because he probably goes forward late in the game when Frost does come on. Henry V says, is the GWS cash gen play a must? So Taylor, Callahan, and Ash, Darren. So your thoughts. So we talked about Sam Taylor already, and we're all fans of starting him at least on the bench. Callahan and Ash, I think I'm interested to hear your thoughts, but I think Callahan's a wait and see till after round one, and you get to see with Tom Green. But Lockie Ash could definitely be someone you look at this week. What are your thoughts with those two?
Yeah, I probably agree with you, the Callahan. I think that game he should have scored a 130. He was just absolutely dominant. He obviously kicked a couple goals. He only scored the 110. Priced at 77. I just don't know if I see him being that sort of accumulative power, especially with Greenback, as you say. He's going to take a lot of points off him and be that accumulator inside. As much as it won't affect his role, because he'll clearly still be the second mid, he'll push out Kelly before him. I still think it's going to affect him in the way that he goes about getting the ball, obviously allowing Green to get the ball first. So I couldn't start him there. But again, if he goes well again next week, he could be someone that we jump on after round 2, after his bye, just because his cash generation could be through the roof if he continues to go the way he does. With Ash, I just couldn't do it. I've toyed with it, but he's priced so expensively, and it probably means that you're not starting a likes of a Roberts or a Perryman or Jaden Short from last night, because they're all within that sort of price bracket. And I think it's just too much to pay up for with a lot of other guys back there. It means you're probably thinning a few other lines. So I just couldn't do it. Even if he's going to earn, 50 odd K in 1 week, it's just not something I'm looking at. I don't think he'll be that consistent. He's generally a 70 guy, so I think he could easily drop back to those ways quite quickly. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think you summed up very well. So
yeah, I agree. If you just look at the stats from last week, Josh Kelly with no goals outscored him, and it's just purely due to the marks and tackles. I don't think Callahan's got that in his game. I don't think that, as Vams like to call it when I chat with him, he's not a natural dream teamer. He's an amazing player, but he doesn't quite hit all the stat lines like you need to be an elite scorer in fantasy.
Bit like LDU, bit that sort of type. Get a lot of the ball, but maybe not
Chad
necessarily.
Chad Warner, probably Will Day as well might come under that going forward as that amazing footy player, not so good fantasy player.
Yeah, and then Lockie Ash as well.
I'm just worried about the wet weather, if I'm honest, with Lockie Ash.
Good point. Yeah.
Little bits of change for him, there's no coming on a wing, there's no Perryman at the halfback. He is quite clearly the second ball user off that back line, which is a slight change, which might give him a little boost. But we've seen this before from Lockie Ash. He has a couple of great games, we all get excited, and then he still averages 75. I don't know if he's going to be. I don't know if that's because he's had to do defensive roles in the past, and he might not have to this year with a Cornerstone coming in. Maybe can play a bit more defensive. But I just want a bit more data, and I think round 1 gives us that little bit more to. But I'm not going to talk anyone out from going there because it's cash gen, and we don't really have a lot of defensive options. Yeah,
agreed. We need on for 3 quarters of an hour, so we'll go live for about another 15 or 20. So we'll do a bit of rapid fire because there's so many questions here. There's so many people, but appreciate everyone tuning in. We got over 200 people tuning in, so appreciate every single one of you tuning in. I'll be live as well for a watch along after this for the Hawthorn nesting game. So if anyone does want to keep getting questions answered and we don't get to answer them, feel free to tune to that. If you just want to see me maybe rage at someone not scoring well, and I'm sure there'll be someone that won't be for me tonight. So Zach says best DA option out of O'Connell, Bice, Warner, Bo Allen as the red dot, or James Leake. Darren, what are your thoughts with those?
That is a tough list to pick. Well, Bo Allen's probably not one you're not going to. He's not playing this week. James Leake, I don't think he. Sorry.
Oh no, you go.
Oh, James Leake, again, probably unlikely to play continuously. I think he's potentially be dropped next week. Was he named this week? I actually didn't check that.
Yes, on the bench.
Yeah,
okay. He smells vesty though. He smells quite vesty.
So I probably wouldn't go there either. I think you just have to try one of the other two, and I haven't really looked too much into the Warner or the Warner, whatever you want to call him. Name.
Yep.
He's on the bench at the moment. I don't think he gets a sub. He scored quite well in the bracket games, but again, it's very uncontested, so it's a bit tricky. they're all very fringe. It's super tough. I don't think any of them are particularly going to be good scorers. So I probably don't have an answer for you, to be honest. I'm starting at Zach Reed, and I could be going Pryor before either of those guys. But what do you guys think if you had to pick one?
O'Connell for me, if you had to pick
O'Connell, yeah.
Because he'll probably play the most. Because Bice will be sub, I think, as well for Sydney. So
yeah,
I agree with that.
Just looking, I think Hanley has done enough to get a gig. So yeah, I think yeah.
Shout out to Jake as well, obviously from Hat Chat, watching that game together last Friday night, and he said Hanley to average 40 points a quarter, and he nearly did. So he was very, very good. So so what we'll do here, so there's a few combos. So pick the combo and then in a sentence or less. Tom, so Dawson and Bergman or Petrarca and Holmes? That's from Matt.
Dawson and Bergman. Better captain option and possible value versus two guys who could be great. Petrarca could play forward.
Yeah. Virgil van Dijk, whether it's a Liverpool defender or not, I'm not sure. But Sheasland Pryor or Ashen Bergman, Darren?
I think you go with the safety of Sheasland Pryor in that one, unfortunately. As much as I love Bergman, I just don't like the Ash play at all, in my opinion. So I'm just going Sheasland Pryor. Pryor should be some decent cash generation, should score 50s to 60s. So yeah, it's more than a sentence, but yeah, that's just me.
I wonder if Virgil, you could go like a Holmes or Nasaya and like a Fraser or something. That might be. I'd almost go in the middle of those two. But those two, Shees and Pryor. Sean Wennell, SDK or Fraser? Tom?
Fraser. I'm doing it. So
I'm SDK.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, we'll quickly just get your thoughts on that then. So SDK over Fraser?
Yeah, I just think he's got the good matchup this week. He's named solo ruck. I think he's at least going to hit a 70, if not 80 in this role. I'm not expecting it to be a full solo ruck role. I think it's going to be 50 to 60%, which we've seen in the past and which we've seen him be able to hit these 90-plus scores. So I think he's just going to get off to a pretty good score this week. Whereas Fraser, I very much see as a natural progression sort of pick because he's in the exact same role that he was towards the back end of the last season. JJ was out back then as well. So I just don't know how much I see of an upside in Fraser at this point. I want to wait and see.
Yeah, the one thing that worries me with deconing is that shout out to AFL Ratings Pizza Pete from +6 Pod put this out earlier today. Chris Scott was saying on the ruck situation at Geelong, saying our thinking at the moment is not necessarily that we're going to choose one ruckman and throw him against all the guns all game every week. We're going to be a little bit more thoughtful about it, and we can do that because we think we have options. So for me, that just screams I'm not going anywhere near that. But you could always go SDK for the good matchup and jump onto Fraser if you want to watch that for a week, because Fraser then does have Collingwood next week. But no, very, very interesting. I think it's a very, very good question there, Sean. Thank you for that one. MPD Tom says, safe to go Grzycki and Stone F7, F8. What are your thoughts?
For me, no. I don't like the Grzycki play purely because I don't know. He played really well last week, but I think his weeks in the team are numbered.
Yeah, I think so. I think I agree. Bailey Miller, Davidson or Langford on field, Darren?
I'd probably go with Davidson. I think he's shown to have a better role on the wing, gets around the ball a fair bit more, and probably in a better fantasy scoring team. So I've got Davidson in that line.
Yep,
rather
agreed.
than midfield.
Nerman Badar says Tom Stewart or Max Holmes, Tom?
Tom Stewart. Chris Scott's come out. I'm starting him. He's my D1. Scott has said midfield role. Also, really hot conditions at Geelong this week. Could be Chip, which is Tom Stewart's bread and butter. So yeah.
What did you say about Chris Scott? You said Chris Scott was going to say. I think you said.
Chris Scott said in the last few weeks that Stewart's going to play mid. So
yeah, I think. Oh, yeah, you said that about Mitch. About Mitch Nevitt. He said Nevitt's going to play in the midfield the likes of Tom Stewart and Patrick Dangerfield. So it's like those two are the ones that he named. So, yep, very, very interesting there. I'd agree with
Chris Scott's never lied.
Yeah,
risky game.
Yeah, exactly. Paulie, 29, Pryor or Reed at D6 tonight, Darren. What are your thoughts? Obviously, you're the Hawks, man. So going up against the Bombers, what do you reckon?
I like Tom's argument that playing a smaller forward line Pryor's probably going to have a bit of a lockdown role on one of those smaller
Probably a Nick
forwards
Watson.
for us. It could be a Nick Watson. We saw what Wicks was able to do against him last week. So I probably would be leaning to Reed. I think, again, they're probably going to chip around a fair bit, and he loves to get involved in that. Obviously, being the taller defender, he'll get a fair bit of interception as well. So, yeah, I'm probably leaning towards Reed at this point in time.
Yep, I think I agree, and Tom, I think, agrees as well. We'll go for Virgil van Dijk, Corey Warner, F7. Tom? Not for me, personally.
Don't mind it. He played wing, which was fine. It wasn't forward pocket. But I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a great scorer. It's going to be a tough game for Sydney against Brisbane. I don't see a great score, but it could be a slow burn. I don't hate it if that's the very, very highest you can get to.
Yeah,
but where's you got Stone and Davidson, who I probably prefer, and I probably prefer Kako as well.
Yeah, I'd even prefer a Wicks if you can even afford all that there as well. Juice says here, Darren, Horn, Francis and Callahan, or Rankin and Ashcroft? So of the Will variety.
I haven't been hot on Ashcroft at all this preseason. I just don't see the much value. I know he came back from injury last year and he went well in the final series, but the finals is very different to just regular games of footy. So in that, I'm probably just going Rankin, probably being the keeper for the season. I'm starting him. Yeah, that's where I sit. Is that the question? I couldn't find this question.
It was Horn, Francis and Callahan as a combo, or Rankin and Ashcroft.
Sorry. So the comparison. That makes it a bit tougher. Probably go with the safety of Horn, Francis and Callahan. Obviously, the in-built cash generation, whereas Rankin could spend a bit more time forward, and Ashcroft, as I said, I'm not super hot on that one. Whereas Jason Horn-Francis is pretty much guaranteed to be top 6 in his line. So, yeah,
that's good call. Yep, it's a tough one. I like players from both those combos as well, so it is a tricky one. Will Turner, Tom says Hasty or Kako or Berry on the bench. So obviously this has probably been utility because Hasty's there. So Kako's got the better probably job security, but he's got the bye.
I'm also just trying to think of like the order of these guys playing.
Maybe Joe Berry's the pick. I think Berry's job security is pretty good.
I think it's Kako or Berry. Probably Berry, just because Port have got an easier start. Probably Berry, I think. I just worry about Hasty always getting to Sunday and Hasty being the sub. I don't think it will be. I agree. I think it's going to be Zach Jones. I'm just trying to think of not locking out a player. Given there's loads of Melbourne options.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll probably want to add on that is that
I don't know.
Kako is obviously not named the sub. Obviously, he's playing tonight, whereas Berry's named on the bench for Port at the moment, and it's a very good bench from what I can see with Sin, Burton, Boak, and Wines in there. So he could very much be the sub.
I would say Boak is my favourite for the Port sub out of that. I think they're going to do your guys did it with Luke Bruce last year and Zach Jones, that experienced, probably can only get a good quarter and a half out of them, but they can give it everything they've got and make a difference. I see it being Travis Boak, but yes, it could be Vegetable.
Yeah. Well, you could say that Joe Berry could be maybe very good or not very good. So
you're learning well, mate. You're learning well.
I could hear some people saying that it was awful, and some people saying, "Oh, fair play." Shout out to Luke from the Ball Boys.
Roger's so happy with that.
Yeah, he's my hero. What do we got here? We answered everyone from Will Turner beforehand. Matthew Murphy's thoughts on starting Peatling, Darren?
It's something I've gone hot and cold on. He was in my team the entire preseason, but he has left my team since the Community Series game, where he's sort of playing as that 5th midfielder. Especially with Sid Draper being the sub, I'd say he's the one that gets swung forward a fair bit. So I want to wait and see. I'm not starting him, but I'm not going to talk anyone out of it because he could be a very good pick, as we know.
I toyed with putting him back into the team. I feel like he's the perfect player, though, to watch this week, see how he goes, and you can bring him in next week. It's fine. Even if it's from Will Day or Hollands or anyone, it's a pretty easy switch. So I think I'm preferring to watch him there. Grzycki versus Max Hall versus Archer Reed versus Constanti. Detached edit. So Tom, thoughts on Grzycki, Max Hall, Archer Reed, and Jacob Constanti? I'm almost leaning to Grzycki out of this one.
I think this is really. I think I'd be going Max Hall purely because
he plays the game before, which is a good thing.
Yeah, if he's not sub, pure one for DPP. Very quickly, Archer Reed don't see scoring. Grzycki drops security, and Constanti. I just don't know. With North, he could be the option, but I feel like Max Hall has a role with no. Is Mitch Owens named?
No, he was the one that was out, and they named Ari Shilemaker.
Oh, he's not far away, and I think he's going to play that kind of third tall, second tall with that side. Yeah, I think Max Hall, but I think it's kind of a roll the dice on which I think.
Yeah,
I don't mind. I don't like any of them, but I don't hate any of them.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan on either. Yeah, Max Hall maybe is the pick with the DPP, or if you want guaranteed cash, maybe Grzycki for a week, and then you can get the best rookie after. But it's a tough one. What we'll do, rapid fire, where no senses, just a word answer, and then that is, well, not word, but the answer, and then that's it. So what we'll do, we answered the SDK Fraser one before. Wicks or Davidson odd field, Darren?
Davidson.
Agreed. Gorn or Cherry, says MJ. Tom, Gorn's running captain option every week. Can you luxury trade Gorn or Cherry when he's cheaper? You can have more than one word for that one because I think Ross is a bit.
I don't know. I don't know. Cherry.
There you go. Stuck to the word answer. Yep, I think I'd agree. They're not very much in difference in price. I'm Gorn as well. Bailey Miller, Darren says, do I go Pryor and Wanganeen Miller or Tom Stewart and Sam Taylor?
Tom Stewart and Sam Taylor, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd be going there as well. Andrew says he's got Nick Dacos and he's risking it. I wouldn't personally. There's guaranteed cash loss and tag potentials next couple of weeks. So, Andrew, I'd be taking him out. Tom says pick 2 of Pryor, SDK, Ash, and Stewart. So 2 of those. Pryor or Reed would be on field as well.
Stewart and Pryor.
Yeah, if you go Stewart and Ash, then you do that. But yeah, if you
I assume you can't afford them both. So yeah, exactly. I was good. I think Stewart and Pryor.
Yeah. Darren Andrew says here Sanders, Pryor, and Callahan, or Sanders. Okay, hang on. I'll just dissect the Sanders in both. So Pryor and Callahan, or Garcia and Taylor.
Sorry, where's the question? I didn't catch any of that.
Andrew Griffith says he's got it here saying Pryor and Callahan or Garcia and Taylor.
It's tough. Probably Garcia and Taylor, but there is the Garcia concern that I have at the moment, which I need to dissect.
Yeah, agreed. Fast break frenzy, Tom. Elijah Hewitt or Sam Wicks? Actually, I think that's just Sam Wicks. You got to go the guy that's got a guaranteed cash gen if you've got the bonus 50k there. Clancy Walsh, I'll go this one for you, Tom, instead. Do you recommend having a player on the bench who's not going to play the whole year for the VC loop? You're still 30 green dots.
I'm 30 green dots. Yeah, I'm 30 green dots. I think I prefer Archer. I think I've come around to preferring Archer Reed to a red dot as well. If you don't want to go Harry Boyd.
I'm still a red dot over Archer Reed, but that's just me personally. Jai Dodd, Darren says, who's the best option at D1? Max Holmes, Nasai Wanganeen Miller, Tom Stewart, or Lockie Ash? And obviously Ash being probably Stewart D1, Ash D2. Short D1, sorry.
Yeah, Stewart for me. I think with the confirmation that he should be playing a bit more midfield, we've seen what he did last year. So
yeah,
lock him in.
Yeah, I think it's Stewart as well. Carl Newsom, Nemso. Apologies, Carl, if I butchered your last name, mate. But Tom, he says O'Sullivan versus Draper versus Langford versus Ashcroft for my last spot in M10. So it's got to be O'Sullivan, yeah?
Yeah, O'Sullivan, definitely. If you can afford it, he could be the highest scoring rookie.
Yeah, great.
Role dependent.
And Andrew says, good point. Yeah, you can go Callahan to Power next week. Yep, very good point there. Slipping Jimmy says, heading to the game now, looks like a good-sized crowd like last night. Yeah, well, apparently I heard that it's more going to be there tonight than last night, so there you go. A lot of people asking about Fraser or DeConing, Fraser or Taylor. It's DeConing or Taylor. It's, yeah, I think if you had to rank them, Darren, is it, well, you're probably with DeConing over Fraser, but is Taylor top of the list for the cash gen, or is he maybe below?
No, I'd probably, if you're struggling that much with making a decision and you don't see upside in either, just go Taylor as a safe option. Take the cash generation and make the decision next week. Whoever goes better.
Yeah, and maybe you get a bad score this week, but maybe you just you
it's long-term look, right?
Yeah, exactly. Eliza says Stone or Kako, Tom. So guaranteed cash in with Stone or Kako.
Stone.
Yeah, agreed. I think we answered that one before from Virgil there. Stephen Thomas, Darren says Hobbs or Garcia. So Hobbs is another one that hasn't been getting a lot of love. I was on him a little bit in the preseason, but
it's tough because he's named on the bench. We've seen him have a lot of midfield time in the Pracky games, but I just don't see his role changing too much. I don't know. It's going to be Caldwell. It's going to be in there. It's going to be. I expect Durham to go back in there a fair bit, especially tonight, going up against Full Day. And obviously Merritt is going to float through there. And obviously Parrish isn't too far away as well. So I couldn't start a Hobbs. I'd have to start with whoever the other option was. Garcia.
Yeah, Hobbs is a watch. Yeah, agreed. Matthew Murphy, Tom, Hall or Hasty? I'm Hasty.
I think I'm Hasty.
You can go the one that's not the sub, right? So that's the where you can go, which is a good thing with those two. A few other people saying Hobbs v Garcia, so a few people are getting on the Hobbs train in the chat here. Someone asked about training in red dot for Camporelli. We said that no before, so Footy Frenzy, we wouldn't be training in a red dot for that. Andrew Griffiths, here's one new one we haven't talked about. Tom, are we picking Nevitt if he's not the sub? What are your thoughts on a Mitch Nevitt?
I think Nod is a better option at the same price, so I think I'm going there. I also think I prefer Garcia to Nevitt. I don't know how long he's going to be in the side. He could pop, but I feel like I want to see it.
Watch it.
For at least a couple of weeks. I also can't see him hurting you too much with his scoring. I don't think he's going to be a guy who can pop a 110. I think he's going to be a 70 guy if he's going to make that cash.
Yeah, great. Jacob said also Wicks or Davidson starting. We said it before. We'd be starting Davidson with the better matchup. It's also had that crash as well. So a few people deciding with that one there. Tig says, any reason I shouldn't be picking English, Darren? What are your thoughts about Tim English?
Well, he's going up against Cherry this week, and he's probably going to get monstered. Besides that, I just don't see the avenue of where he's going to get his points back on the field. I know maybe early days he's got to take a bit more of a load because of the guys that are missing in Bontempelli and in Chalor, but I just don't see him getting back to those 110, 115 sort of ways. So I just don't see the value there.
Yeah, I'd be going Gorn as well over him and also Cherry. Andrew Griffiths, Tom says this one, Sanders and Nevitt or Callahan and Garcia. I'm assuming you're going to just pick Sanders and Garcia.
Yes.
Split the combos. I'd play Garcia. I'd play Garcia in the mids over Nevitt.
Enjoy your cash that you can do lots with.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna have 100k to enjoy doing something else.
Yeah, exactly. Tom McInerney, Darren says, talk me out of starting Clark at D1.
I just don't see the upside. Like I said, he had a breakout season last year, so where's the upside? I actually don't even know what he's priced at because I haven't looked at him at all.
96 or 97, I believe.
Yeah, I just don't see where he's going to get the upside there. But maybe someone else knows more than I do. Yeah, I think so. Tom, you got anything?
If you're super bullish and you love him as a player and you think it's his third full season, go for it. I don't have a better option a distinctly better option for D1. I personally don't see the upside, but if you're bullish, go for it. There's nothing inherently wrong with starting him there, in my opinion.
Yeah. World Creator says here, says, I live in Malta and Cherry is a Maltese surname. Correct pronunciation is Sherry. So there you go. I think everyone does Sherry, Cherry, X-Airy, the X-Man, the Big X. Like there's a lot of different ones going around with him. So, but no, I appreciate the letting us know, mate. So Tristan Sherry. John Sands, what do you think Sheasel and Stewart will score? I think Sheasel's a 110. I think Stewart's a 98. Noodles 05, Draper or Lindsay? I think Draper will be sub, so I'm going to go Lindsay. If Draper's not the sub, though, he plays before Lindsay, so you jump on Draper if he's not the sub. We've got a couple more before we wrap up. Jacob says Zach Reed or Leak. I think we all agree it's Zach Reed. Do we keep Boxall? Boxall wasn't named Footy Frenzy, so trade him out. Billy says Dawson and Stewart or Zorko and Ashcroft, Tom?
Dawson and Stewart. Dawson and Stewart. I do sneaky like Zorko, but I'm going Dawson and Stewart.
I would agree with that one. Berry or Kako, Darren? Says Footy Frenzy.
M7 as well.
Sorry, I'm assuming I mean F7. Sorry, I'm assuming.
Oh, F7. Yeah, that's weird. I'm probably leaning towards Berry with a better run.
Yep, I'm partly agreeing with that as well. And then Nick Stebber says Kako or Hall for the DPP flexibility. So they both got the flexibility. You going Kako with the better job security?
Yeah, going Kako.
If you can afford it. If you can afford it, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I don't mind if you need the 70k.
Yeah. Andrew says Stewart and Callahan or Sheasel and Nod, Tom?
Sheasel and Nod, I think. I think it's. I don't like either. If I'm really honest, I'm kind of as far off Sheasel as possible. Did you
go Stewart and Nod?
I happily go Stewart and Nod because I've got both of them in my side.
Yeah, you'd have the 250 odd K to use elsewhere.
Yeah, that might be able to turn a rookie into a mid-pricer into a underpriced primo or something. Like I think that's the way I view my team building anyway. Yeah.
Here's a good one. Sultan says this one, Darren. Sam Taylor and Sherry or Gawn and Fraser?
I am on the Sam Taylor and Cherry chain. I think Cherry and Gawn are going to score very similar this week, even though Gawn obviously has a bit of matchup. But I'm just not super confident on a Fraser, whereas a Sam Taylor is a guaranteed have a look, tap Jack cash generation, then trade into whoever does better back there.
Yep. Jack Groves, mid-rookie out of Hasty, Henderson, Murphy Reid or Xavier Lindsay. Tom, are you waiting on the other three to see he's not the sub and just missing Murphy Reid in that scenario? Or if Murphy Reid's not the sub, you're going him over the others?
I don't think Murphy Reid will be the sub.
I'm Lindsay out of those. I think Lindsay's.
I think I'm Lindsay.
Yeah. We'll go a couple more because otherwise we keep going for ages and I've got to get ready for this watch along. Noodles, Cherry or Dawson, straight captain. Well, I did the captain's video yesterday and I've got Cherry as my number 2 option and even Mitch from the Ball Boys had him at number 1. So I would be going for a Tristan Cherry. I like Dawson, but more safety with a Sherry there for this week. Cool. And I reckon that'll do us, I reckon. We've answered most of the questions. I've tried to slowly catch up to the end of the chat. So you guys have smashed it with all the chat tonight. Apologies if you didn't get your question answered. If you'd like your question answered, jump over to the watch along. I'll be starting that in about 10, 15 minutes if you want to get your questions answered there. Or if not, and you want to become a Patreon and get access to a heap of bonus and exclusive content as well as access to our cash league, then head to patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. I'm also doing team reviews through the Ask Me On Q platform, and all patrons get that service for free. So if you'd like me to do an audio response and review team, you can still do them tonight. Feel free to join up there as well. But Tom, mate, thank you very much for jumping on, mate. A couple minutes late, but that's all good. You're at work, mate, so we know that there's other commitments, mate. Where can the people find you across the socials, and any final thoughts ahead of the remaining 8 games?
You can find me on X at Tom_Hales_. Don't be too you've set your team for a reason. Don't be trying to tinker too much over the next few days. Back yourself in and have a great season.
Yep, beautiful, mate. And Darren, mate, where can the people find you, and also where can people find all the great content you're doing at Wise Ocean Pods?
So you can find me on X at Wise Ocean Pods, and same with on YouTube, Wise Ocean Pods there. But my final thoughts, really, back yourself in. You've done a lot of research for the preseason. It's been a long preseason, so yeah, back yourself in and don't try and make too many reactionary decisions at this point in time.
Yeah, agreed. Unless they are named the sub or something like that. So I fully agree. And you can find me at BAILSDT, and you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter as well. And yeah, couldn't agree more with the boys there. Yeah, just enjoy it as well. I know I didn't enjoy it last night with Hollands, but I still found a way to enjoy De Koning. So enjoy the games. As I said, jump over the watch along after. It'd be good to see a few of you over there as well. Smash like on the video. We had nearly 200 people tuning in live as well. So make sure you guys smash likes on the video. 50 to 100 likes would be fantastic. And we'll catch you guys on Sunday night after the final game. So that'll be at about 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 6 p.m. for all the legends in Perth. We'll be recapping the round with another special guest or two. So thanks, everyone. And we'll catch you guys on Sunday night. Enjoy the weekend and the footy, guys. See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.